This is a dual session. I don't think we've ever done that before, but I'm going to kind of give you a tour of the EHR-based tools and give you some encouragement on why you should use those over practice management. Then after that, we'll move right into the billing drop-in. My name is Douglas Bresso, work with the Get Paid team. Lately I've been doing implementations for new practices, so as soon as they come online, I work with them for about a couple months, make sure they're on their feet and doing great. So, to start with, how many of you use practice management on a daily basis, like quite frequently? All right, so I have my work cut out for me then. So being honest, how many of you that raised your hand is just because maybe you're not a big fan of change, or perhaps just kind of comfortable with what the tools that you have now? Nobody? All right. Okay, one person. Great. That's good. So then everybody else has no reason not to adopt the new tools, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's one thing we haven't addressed, but is definitely on the roadmap for a future release. So, yeah. So kind of a selfish plug for us. You all are probably aware of our development process as far as we put out little chunks, get things out there, make sure it's usable, and then collect feedback, right? So the more folks that are using the EHR tools, the better. It's going to help us, going to help you in the end. So if there are enhancements that need to be made, we need the most amount of folks using the product so we get the greatest amount of feedback, right? So, all right. So let's start here. Hopefully, you can probably see the screen, but you're not able to read it. It's kind of tiny, but I'm not going to be going into a great amount of detail. I'm going to highlight the tools and then kind of speak to the differences between what the EHR can do versus the practice management side, okay? So as far as the revenue cycle is concerned, the first thing would be eligibility. So if I bring up the tools menu and I pull up insurance eligibility. This tool here works the same as what's in practice management. I think one of the profound differences you're going to see is that there's better error logging in the EHR. When you're running Elig out of the practice management, a lot of times it's going to encounter an error and just give you a generic message. Whereas in the EHR, every time the eligibility response fails, you're going to see a description in red text that's going to tell you what the issue may be, okay? For example, if I opened up this patient here, notice that it's telling me, hey, there's a connection problem, right? So there's something wrong with the internet. But you're going to see other specific errors, like you may see something about relationship to the subscriber, things like that, okay? Or connection issues. A lot of times those payer systems go up, they go down. Sometimes it lasts for 20 minutes, sometimes it's 2 hours. But you'll see better error logging there instead of just a generic message, okay? So most of you should be using the Elig tool. You can set this status here that can communicate to the front desk that things have already been checked out. So hopefully that's integrated into your check-in process, okay? Yes, let's save the questions till the end. I'm on kind of a tight timeline, so if you want to jot those down, and we can kind of address those right before the drop-in, if that's okay.
Owen's going to bring the mic around at the end.
Gotcha, okay. All right, so that's Elig. On the main screen, you'll notice that there are some filters down here. So if you're a large practice, you could divvy it up based on insurance, based on location. So there are some options there as well. Then you can filter on the coverage status. Show me only the inactive or active, okay? All right, so Elig has been checked. Patient is already checked in. I'm going to skip over that process. Everybody should be using patient check-in in the EHR. If you're not, I'd be very surprised. So we're going to skip over check-in. All right, so the patient has been seen, and I've already billed this, okay? So we're going to move right to posting charges, okay? So visit is charted, provider hits make ready for billing, which turns our billing status to ready to post. So me as a biller, I can filter my screen down here to show only the charges that are ready for me, which would be my ready to post. And you'll notice when I do that, it eliminates all the encounters that aren't ready for me yet. So when I'm ready to post, I can actually click on the ready to post button. Brings me to the patient details to start with, so I can verify anything that would have been verified ahead of time. Eligibility, demographics, all that great stuff, the policies. But when I'm ready to post charges, I click on the post charges button. Okay. So with posting charges, changing modifiers is very simple. If a procedure has modified versions in the table, you're going to see a drop down next to this procedure. So I just simply click on the drop down, and there's a list of all the available modified procedures, right? If you're posting charges in practice management, obviously you have to wipe the code out, you have to type it in and add the modifier. So this is much quicker, right? Another thing that is very helpful, let's say we have a sick visit. This happens to be a well visit. While I'm posting the charges, if I'm questioning the leveling of that sick visit, I can simply click on visit note, and it's going to bring up all the charted data, and I can just scroll up and down through it. So as a coder, I could review what was charted and say, yeah, actually that is a 214, not 213. Okay. Obviously you can't do that in practice management, so another benefit there. In general, this is a more streamlined workflow. When you're talking about diagnosis and procedures and the linking, it's pretty easy to remove them, add something different. I can drag things around and reorder them really quickly. Not so great or easy in practice management to do that, right? It's a lot of removing the text, typing it back in, right? So you're getting all the efficiencies of the GUI workflow here. Okay. All right. So to save this and post it, I just hit save and post once I'm done. All right. So I'll bring up the chart again. So if I have a patient's chart open, I can also post a myriad of charges in the EHR. We can post hospital visits, we can post administrative charges, form fees, things like that. If you're charging for DME, you could do that as well. When I open the chart, if I go into the history tab and then billing history, you're going to see a little index of all the visits, okay? There's a button here called create encounter, right? So when I hit create encounter, it brings up the same workflow as you would get with a normal appointment, except you need to feed it all the information. You need to tell the provider that you're posting this for. So we'll select a provider. You need to tell it the place of service, okay? Notice that when I choose a hospital place of service, the single data service field changes to admit and discharge, right? So that's where you would post your hospital visits. So no different, it just adds in the admit and discharge dates. And when you add a procedure, let's see, you get the from and to dates for each procedure, so you can tell it whether it's a single day or whether this encounter spanned multiple days. Okay. So let's change this back to just a regular visit. I adjust the data service right here. I can type in whatever date I want. I could post something in the past. It doesn't have to be today. Okay. So that's that's hospital visits. If I'm posting like a forms, so let's see. Here's a forms procedure. Okay. So when I'm posting administrative charges in here, as long as the procedure code does not have 5 characters, so when it's a fake procedure, the system won't require an ICD-10 code, and it's not going to append it to insurance or generate a claim for it. So it'll immediately go to personal. So that's how you'd post your administrative fees. Okay. All right. So the capitation payments and charges can be put in here as well, right? So what I'm doing right now is posting a charge. Well, I could post my capitation charges in here and then post the payment as well, right? So in here, under the procedure section, we have this code here, capitation fee, right? So I would post the amount of that check as a charge, And then down here under the payment type, I could put in my capitation payment, okay? Here's one called cap adjustment. Again, this test server is not really configured to have that default payment type in there, but you guys can certainly add that to your payments table so that it's available in here. So you wouldn't need to post your capitation payments in practice management if you have cap, okay? The other things you can do in here, you can post insurance overpayments, okay? So you can manage that through here. Let's see. So that covers posting charges, right? So you can post normal routine visits. You can post your administrative fees, hospital visits. Create encounters basically for anything that doesn't have an appointment scheduled, right? So you got capitation payments, insurance overpayments, okay? Things like that. All right. So there is a report in the EHR. So in the reports library, under the billing category, you're going to have two separate reports. You're going to have visits by billing status, which will just look for pure visits, things that were scheduled. And then there's an encounters by billing status. Some of you out there may be posting charges for phone notes or portal messages. So if you are, you would need to use the encounters by billing status, okay? If you are, you can just use the encounters by billing status because that will also show the visits, right? But if you're not doing those, you can get away with using the visits by billing status. So that's pretty straightforward. I'll just show you kind of the main screen there. Here it is here, visits by billing status. So you would give it, you could filter by provider if you wanted to. You would assign the date range, so if you're looking at the last 30 days, and then you would click on the billing status. So what do you want to see? Visits that the provider is not made ready for billing, visits that need to be billed, which is you're ready to post, and then new items, right? New items would be amendments to the chart after the charges have been posted that would necessitate billing. So sometimes that's a procedure code, but most often it's like an ICD-10 code that's been entered, or sometimes lab results will often trigger another procedure to be billed. So this is your tool to audit, have I posted all the charges and are all the providers getting the charges to me, right? So you can run this for any date range that you'd like. All right. So I mentioned the posting of charges for portal messages and phone notes. I can show that off real quick. So if I press add phone note, notice there's a bill button here. So after I've added the phone note, or I've been conversing back and forth, it's been multiple days or whatnot, if I click the bill button, it's going to allow me to post. Right, so I get that same screen that I'm used to for a normal encounter. I'd put in the procedures, hit the next button, and then I'd hit the make ready for billing button. Okay. So if I were to do that, I'll put in a couple charges, or a procedure and a diagnosis. We'll hit make ready for billing. Those don't actually appear on the schedule screen. They show up under the messaging tab. Okay, so I need my filter set to all, and then instead of not completed, I'll see all statuses. And there's my phone note that's ready to be posted, right? So if you're billing for those appear in the messaging tab. Okay. That workflow is the same as posting a normal charge. It's no different, so we don't need to go through that. All right. So next step in the revenue cycle would be submitting your claims, right? I encourage all of you to move to the claims tool like tomorrow if you're not using it, okay? Or call somebody at the office, right? Much better. I'm sure there's folks out there who have got emails from support to say, hey, you've got a bunch of paper claims that need to be printed. The old claims program is not great, and in fact, it doesn't tell you at all that things were destined to be sent electronic, but they were somehow routed to paper. The new claims tool does that for you, okay? among other things. So let's take a look at that. So under the Tools menu, you have Claims. So here's the main screen. You'll notice you've got a Submission tab. We've got a Needs Corrections tab. We'll talk about that. We've got Logs, Holds, and Delays. Okay. So to send claims, I'm going to hit Prepare Claims. So right now it's running out, finding all the charges that have been posted and have not been sent yet. Okay. And it gives you a little recap. So with our test system here, great. We don't have a lot of valid stuff, but on your system, you'd see actual numbers here, right? And the text is kind of small, so I'll read it for a prepared claim. So it's telling you the number of claims that were submitted. And then right below that, that line says 0 claims prepared to route to paper, right? So if you use the EHR claims tool now, it'll no longer route claims to paper without you knowing about it. You should be sending like 99% of your claims electronically. So if you have claims route to paper, you can try to figure it out on your own, or just give us a call and say, hey, I just ran claims and there's 2 claims that popped to paper. Why is that? Because they really shouldn't. Probably the only reason you should get a paper claim out of your system is if the charge is being put through for a tertiary insurance or beyond. Other than that, you really shouldn't have any paper claims. So if you do see that, let us know. There could be a configuration thing going on, or something else that we might need to fix. Okay. All right. You can click the edit button, and it will show you all the claims and all the batches that they're in. So you don't have to submit them all. You can pick and choose if you would like. Okay. If you just use the defaults here and just let it send everything, it'll go out. Okay. Then you have this, claims will not be submitted, okay? 0 claims held is what that one says, and then there's 0 claims delayed, and then 18 claims need correction, okay? So held claims would be the hold feature that we're going to talk about here, and then delayed claims would be a claim delay. The system does have a feature where you can delay claims based on the date of service for X number of days. So if that is in place, you'll see the number of claims that are delayed based on that, okay? The Needs Corrections tab, this is a great one. So this will be another big selling point for you guys. In practice management, when you run claims, you run that prep tags or prepare claims or whatever it's called in your window. When it's done, it spits out the bad claims report, right? And sometimes it doesn't print, it's kind of a pain. The Needs Corrections tab is that bad claims report, okay? So I'll hit submit claims here and we'll run that. And so this is what it looks like. Gives you a little confirmation screen. It says, hey, 1 claim was submitted, no claims are routed to paper. And then here are the stats on the claims that were not submitted. Well, hey, I just had 18 claims go to error. So that's what would have printed on your bad claims report. All right. And then there's 0 claims that need to be prepared to submit. So my bad claims report is right here. I click on the Needs Corrections tab. All right. When you generate claims and claims are routed to the Needs Corrections tab, the system will continually try to resend those, right, without you having done anything. So every time you run claims, if you didn't touch these claims and fix the problem, it'll try to submit them again, right? So it continually tries to check, well, has the user fixed this, right? Because what happens in here is that if you go in and you fix an issue with a claim, you don't actually have to go in and tell the system to re-queue it, because it holds it here and it's just continually checking to say, well, have they fixed the underlying issue? Yes, they have. Well, we're just going to let it out. Okay, so you can abandon that workflow of having to go in, find the problem, go into your correct mistakes or wherever you're doing that from. You just let it sit there and the system will send it out for you. Okay. There's a validate button here. So if you're in here and you see a bunch, you're like, man, I don't remember there being 18. That can't be right. So you can click the validate button. It'll go through and check all these again and see if it's still a problem. Okay. So if you say you had a bunch on there, you got interrupted, and you came back and you weren't sure which one have I addressed, well, you just click the validate button. It'll remove the ones that are okay. All right. The other cool thing about this is I can basically edit and fix this stuff in place depending on what the problem is. Okay, so if I double click on one of these, it's going to open it up give me more information about what the problem is. I can click on demographics and see information. I've got insurance policies down here. I also have links here. Demographics will open the chart and pop open the demographics tab or ribbon, whatever you. Documents will open up documents. Billing history will open up the chart and go to the billing history. Okay, so when we do that, notice here it pops me right into the chart, opens up the billing history. Okay, and we'll go back to the claims tab. Correct mistakes, I think maybe next release, I'm looking at Michael over here, we're probably going to make that say edit charges so it doesn't take you to my nemesis oops, right? That's coming, but right now it's going to take you to correct mistakes, okay? But you can just use the billing history button, right? Because once I'm in the billing history button, I have access to my edit charges, right? So if I don't want to use oops anymore, I just press billing history, and that pops me into the chart, and then I have access to a bunch of things. I also have access to the payments tool in there as well. So if I want to deal with personal payments or anything like that, or look at insurance payments. So kind of a great jumping off point there. So I'll click close, and we'll go back to the claims tab. All right. So I'm back to my list here, okay? You also notice you have a delete claim button. So probably, hopefully not frequently, but you have a charge that gets posted to an insurance and then you realize after the fact, oh no, that's the wrong one. So I'm gonna go in and add the new insurance. I'm gonna append those charges to the right insurance, but the system held on to the claim for that initial plan, right? It doesn't just get rid of it because you've added a new policy. It still has that charge or that claim it wants to submit. So you can use the delete claim button. That's the most common use for it, but if you ever see a claim in here, say it's for a bogus charge, like a fee or something that slips through and wants to go to insurance, well, you can just delete the claim. When you delete the claim, it does not delete the charges, right? It just deletes the queued up claim, okay? So that's important to know. How are we doing, guys? Am I going too fast? We good? Okay. We're kind of going through what would be 12-ish hours of of actual training, so I'm kind of glossing over the functionality, but more talking about the features. So, all right, good. So let's back out of here, and we'll talk about the log. So the log here, every time I run claims, it's going to show me a log. Okay. You have kind of a logging tool in practice management. It's pretty antiquated and kind of cumbersome, but this log here is going to show me when I sent claims, who sent it, but it's also keeping track of all those metrics. How many claims were held for this run? How many were delayed? How many needed corrections? How many were routed to paper, right? How many were submitted and how many batches were all those claims contained in? So if I were to click on one of these entries, it's going to show me every claim that was submitted, right? Notice you also have a little drop down here. So in that run, I had some claims that were submitted and some that needed corrections. If I had some claims that were held or were delayed, you'd also see those options in the drop down so that you could access those as well, okay? So instead, if I said, well, I wanted to see out of that run which ones needed corrections, well, I can choose that, and then it shows me what was in the Needs Corrections tab when I happened to run those claims on that day, okay? So pretty robust log here. And you also have search filtering in here. You can sort on any of these columns as well. So that's pretty cool. All right, that's the log. You got the holds tab here. So the holds tab is intended for you to be able to hold a large amount of claims. Okay, and it's all based on criteria. You'll notice that date of service, the billing provider, the places of service, and the insurance plans are all criteria that you can add holds for. So let's say I hire a new NP or something and they're not credentialed with insurance yet. Well, I can continue to post all the charges and the system will just hold those claims for me. Okay, many of you have been around for a while. We had a solution that would hold them in the background and they were invisible. Not great. Sometimes folks would forget to call us and say, hey, you need to release that hold, and 3 months goes by and things are queued up and they should have gone out, get the story. But now, you notice in that log, there's a section for the held claims, right? So every time that you're submitting claims, it's going to keep a tally and tell you how many claims are being held based on these claim holds, okay? So very visible. Every time you run claims, you'll see and you'll be reminded that, wow, some claims are being held. Maybe I should address those, or that's fine still. All right, so adding it's pretty straightforward. You just click add, you give it a name, you assign the criteria, this provider, this insurance until whatever date is appropriate. The delay button. The claim delay has been around for a while, but it was never configurable by an end user. You used to have to call us and say, hey, I want a 2-day claim delay added to my claims. Now you can change that on the fly. So if you want to give yourself a little bit of leeway, if you're checking charges before they get submitted, you can assign this claim delay dynamically. So one day it could be 2 days. The next, say you fall behind, well, let me ramp it up to 4 days so it's not letting claims out that I haven't checked. A word about the claim delay is it is based on the date of service, right? So if you had, say, a 1-day claim delay, something that was posted 3 days ago, or a date of service from 3 days ago, even though it got posted today, it'll go out, okay? So it kind of relies on timely posting of the encounters, all right? So just be aware of that. Don't want anybody to be surprised. But you can set this to whatever is appropriate or whatever you need, okay? So that's the claims tool. Everybody going to use that tomorrow? Yeah? Or Monday when you get back? Yeah, okay. A word about the claims tool, I almost forgot. Don't hop back and forth. When you decide to use the claims tool, you're using the claims tool and that's it. Say you had a bunch of claims and need corrections because you ran claims in the EHR, and then the next day you go into practice management and you run the prep tags program, it's going to wipe those out, right? And then you also have a fragmented log, right? Because the log of things you run in practice management will not appear here, right? So once you make the switch, just stay. No reason to go back. Okay. All right, so we've submitted claims. The next logical thing would be, hey, payments are coming back. So electronic remittance advice in the EHR is vastly different from what you're used to in practice management, okay? The practice management version was written a long time ago, and it was written to be very conservative. It literally wouldn't post anything unless you told it could based on the adjustment code. So the EHR doesn't care about adjustment codes at all. It's posting everything it possibly can and then relying on you guys to review the file afterwards to look at payments that may be problematic. So it's trying to take away the tedious data entry that's wasting your time, and instead let me focus on payment issues, okay? So that's the way it was designed. There are a lot of enhancements to that. You're probably going to see around at least above 95% of your payments that would be auto-posted, whereas practice managers is probably more around 50 to 60%. You guys can fact check my numbers there, but I think you're probably would be in agreement. So one of the big things that it does, and one of the big problems with practice management, was that it wanted the copay amounts on the charge to match the copay amounts in the ERA. Otherwise, it would send things to the manual report. Well, the EHR doesn't care about that. If there's a discrepancy and there's a copay expected in the system but not in the remit, it's going to automatically remove the copay in the system. It's going to unlink any payments that were made and link to those charges for you, and then it will post the insurance payment and adjustment. So that cuts down on a huge amount of the manual payments that you would have to post using the practice management tool. It does not, no.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sorry. Gene asked, hey Doug, when it removes the copay and unlinks the payment, does it then relink the payment?
It actually keeps the copay linked. It all depends. If it's a bigger copay, if the copay, is it on?
There's a mute button on it.
Hi. If the copay is larger, it'll increase the expected copay amount appropriately. If it's a lower amount, and let's say you had a $25 copay and you want to lower it, it lowers it down to a $10 copay, it'll actually unlink the $15, the extra amount. So it's going to just unlink the appropriate amount and leave the other part linked.
Ah, yes.
So I hope that's
Thank
helpful.
you. Yes, it is. Appreciate it. Help from friends. Greatly appreciated. All right. The EHR version also posts partial payments, not on a procedure level, but say you had an encounter with 15 procedures in it. The practice management side, if it had a problem with one procedure, it wouldn't post any of those payments. Well, the EHR will post all 14 and then leave the one problematic charge for you to post, right? So more efficiency there as well. So they're completely different, much more efficient, but it does introduce a different workflow for you in the way of having to review the file. If you were in the class yesterday, the handout that's attached to this class on the WUVA app will have slides and links to all the documentation online. There are a lot of tools built into the EHR's version to help you with that, looking at special cases like things being written off completely. You can look for certain adjustment codes. So there are some tools in place. And we're actually in the midst of kind of designing and talking about some enhancements to it to give you a little bit more control over what it does post. Some of the feedback we've received is that, hey, there are certain things that I kind of don't want it to post. Say it's putting things to patient responsibility, and the practice, would prefer that it not do that. So that's something we're looking at enhancing in the upcoming releases. Okay. All right. Manual insurance payments. We pull up the insurance payments tool here, and I will just find somebody who has a balance. We'll pop this open here. The big thing here is that you have this payer claim control number that you can put in while you're posting the payment. So if in the future you need to submit this as a corrected claim, you're going to need that number. If you don't store it in here, you're going to have to go hunt the ERA down and try to find it, right? It's kind of a pain. So you can add that. Obviously, you've got a lot going on in the screen here. You can see the policies. You can edit the policies in here. You've got demographics to work with and account notes as well, right? So on the posting side, that's kind of the big difference and the huge advantage. Obviously, it looks prettier, right? But then you have the history tab here. Okay, so the history tab is going to show you all the payments for this account, okay? If you made a mistake, let's say, I can just open up one of these payments and edit it. I could change the transaction date, right? I could put in a check number if I forgot. I can put in that claim number if I forgot that as well. I can also alter the amounts. That's up to you whether you want to do that. But say a primary pays, claim gets submitted to secondary, and then they pay above and beyond what was actually sent to them. Well, you could hop in here and adjust the primary's adjustment so that you have enough money to post instead of having to deal with it as an overpayment. So you can alter these amounts if necessary. Or you just made a mistake, right? Like you were going down through the ERA, you noticed at the end of the day balancing, oh, it doesn't match. Well, I found the account that I made the mistake on. Instead of having to delete that payment entirely and repost it like you do in practice management, you just hop in here and change the amounts. So much easier. Okay. If I hit cancel, notice when I highlight a payment here, like this insurance payment, let's say there's a take back. I highlight that and I hit reverse payment. Okay, I can put in my reversal date. I can choose insurance take back. Okay, and then I'll hit save. And it says, hey, this payment will be reversed, and the charges will return to pending the original insurance. Owen. Oh, geez. Okay. We might have to encroach on some of the. Yes.
Can you do a partial take back?
You cannot. at this time.
The question was, can you do a partial take back?
No, there are no partial takebacks as of right now. That is something we're talking about actually, is making it so that it's a different workflow that would present what was previously posted so that you don't have to go back in and re-enter everything. So that's something we're working on for a future release.
The problem with this, and I'm a dark side person, I'm so sorry, and I'm trying, I promise you.
Hold on.
Owen's going to bring you the mic.
If we're gonna break the seal, then we gotta break the seal. We only got 10 minutes. Linda, no, you got it.
So if you could post a payment here and it looked the same as if it did over in OOPS-P, should you post it over in PIP? That would be great. But right now, if you do an insurance take back and you post it over here and you go into PIP, you have to erase the entire payment, go back and repost it, and then do a refund. So it's duplicating, triplicating our work because we have to take it off one, put it over on the other. That's just a mess. So why can it not look the same? The same is good.
I believe what you're referring.
Oh, the same is bad. And I can tell you all the reasons why. But not right now.
Yeah, Linda, I think what you're referring to is the EHR posts these insurance payments in a lump sum, whereas practice management will post them in little chunks that you can move around and play with. We did that in the EHR so that the auto posting feature, and I neglected to tout this as an enhancement as well, the EHR's auto posting program will post reversals for you. So you don't have to deal with them. That's the reason we did it, so that the ERA that comes in could automatically post reversals. If we didn't do it that way, it wouldn't be possible.
But not all insurance companies take all of it back. They only take $10, whereas you paid $300.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. It's basically like one procedure, there's a different amount, but the other ones are the same. So I mean, technically it is a full reversal as far as like ERA is concerned, even though there's only one thing changing. But that's something we're looking at making some enhancements to. So, all right. Thank you for that, Linda. Let's see. So I know I'm really short on time, so let's move on to personal payments. So payments tool up here, we can pull up an account here. This is the posting screen, okay? The big thing that you have here, you've got this encounters with outstanding personal balances. It's going to show you details about the balance itself. But most importantly, you've got the history button here. So the history button is going to show you a history. And you could do kind of the same thing that you did with the insurance payments, okay? So let me find, here's a check payment, right? If I messed up on the amount or something like that, I can hop in here, change the amounts. I can even change the payment type. And you're seeing that I can allocate this payment to specific charges, okay? So you can do all that through the Payments tab. If I need to delete it, I can just delete the payment here. Let's say this check bounced. I select it. I'm going to hit Reverse Payment, and I can select Return Check, and I can also impose a fee if I wanted to. So it will automatically reverse that check and then add a fee to the account if you desire, okay? So that's pretty cool. Kind of a gross process in the dark side. Let's see, we can print receipts, right? So I can highlight any of these payments that I'd like. I can multi-select them as well and hit print receipt, and it'll spit out a nice printed receipt on pretty paper. No longer looks like a word processor from the 80s. So let's see. Reconciling payments, there are some payment reports in the EHR's report library. So let me bring that up. And so under the billing section here, you'll notice you have the payment reconciliation report. That's this one here. So that's going to get you your grand total, okay? If the total doesn't match with what it should be, then you're going to run your payment totals by check number. Find the check that has the problem, Once you find the check that has the problem, you're going to run the payment details by check number, which is going to show you all the payments in that check so that you can figure out which encounter you went wrong on. Okay? 5 minutes. Okay. Here's something I can't show you in our test server, but when you're working in practice management with the rejections, which will be in the EHR in October in the 10.4 release. So you will no longer have to deal with rejections in practice management. You can come over to the billing history in the chart. So you go to the chart, billing history, select an encounter, and if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to have this claim history section. So that pretty closely mimics what you see in correct mistakes or what you're used to. While I'm thinking about it, account history is going to be in the EHR in October. That's going to be really amazing. So keep your eyes peeled for that. You'll be able to click on these. See how these little blurry words for you? Those are hyperlinks. So claim submitted, I can click on that and look at the claim data that was sent. The responses that come back from the clearinghouse or from the payer for your claims, you'll be able to click on those as well and view those from within there, so you don't have to use correct mistakes anymore. The ERA that comes into the system will also be a hyperlink in here, right? So you don't have to go into the ERA archive and try to find where was the check. It was 2 months ago. You just go into the chart, find the encounter, double click on the ERA, and it pops it up right there. So way faster than what you're used to. So that is the billing history. Lastly, we'll bring up Frank P. Beans here. We'll go into his history, and then billing history. If I were to click Edit Charges, down at the bottom, we have this Encounter Billing Notes. So you're used to being able to add notes in correct mistakes, right? Now you can use the Encounter Billing Notes in the EHR, and that's available in anything. You can add it into eligibility, you can add it to check-in. It's available in demographics. You can add it there as well. So it basically lives everywhere. And you see here, while we're editing the charges, we're going to see that there. Okay, so that is a fairly recent tool. I think that was 10.2, the last release where that came out. So you can utilize the encounter billing notes from within the chart there. Okay, a little more easy to use. They work just like account notes. So when you add multiple notes, you're going to see those in there. You can add follow-ups. Hi, 2 minutes. Perfect. All right, so I have run out of time, but hopefully you guys have seen some of the tools already. Hopefully this entices you guys to start using them, right? So again, like I mentioned, the more people we have using it, the more feedback we can get, and the better we can make the tools for everybody. So thank you.
And we are going to continue. We're going to change over into our live billing drop-in. So please hang around if you'd like. Yeah?
Could I sneak in a few things?
Yes. And while we do that changeover, Jeremy's going to chat with you guys for a second. But the next segment is going to be really, really good for questions because we'll definitely have time for those.
Hello. I just wanted to mention a couple things that I really like about using the EHR, but one of them is not necessarily a feature we intended, but you can copy and paste in the EHR.
Oh, yes.
Which is
yes.
like probably my
Yes.
favorite thing next to the
check number, you
copays.
can just right click.
The check number,
Yes.
the payer claim control number, you can just copy and paste that wherever you're, that you want. And one thing about the payments tool as well, if you are still using the print bill form, the old kind of like form in the EHR to print a one-time statement, also in the payments tool, there's a print statement button, so you can just print a bill for that patient as well. That's like a subtle one, but I know there's a lot of people still using the old form for that. And then if you're not billing in your phone notes yet, you haven't done that previously in the past, you may need to go into your phone note protocol. A lot of people don't know you can actually edit those protocols for the phone note and add in things like screening orders or lab orders, because then when they're ordered in the phone note, it'll translate right over to the bill screen and make sure those procedures are in there. That's all.
Yeah, and folks on the stream, just forgive us for a second while we change over. All right, while we get settled, I am going to welcome folks to the live billing drop-in. Hello, hello. We're happy to have you guys. I know there's like a good chunk of you that, I know, you got to take a picture because you're just like, this is unreal. Oh, yeah, Jay can stand in my way. No, but... welcome. We usually do this once a month online, but we are going to do this live for you guys right now. Unfortunately, we only have 45 minutes. Great. Looks like we're just getting started. All right, so welcome everybody. Just so you guys know that this is your time. Yeah, we have everybody up here, almost everybody on the team up here. And the reason we do that is so that we can be best prepared to answer your questions. We are going to maybe show you guys some stuff, maybe chat about some updates and things that we have on our docket for you guys to learn about. But our number one is making sure that you guys get your questions answered, especially because we have a room full of billers right now. So a problem that somebody might be experiencing, someone else may have solved 2 years ago. That would be kind of the dream if every question could be answered like that. Unfortunately, I know that that's not the case. But also, if and when you speak up, I'll bring over a mic to you just so that the folks at home can hear. That'd be awesome, just because I know it's so tempting to just raise your hand and shout and start talking, and we love that. We love the discussion. I will run as fast as I can. So I'm just going to really quickly just right on down the line introduce the team for right now. We've got Kelsey, who's our BA. We've got Jack, who is one of our specialists. We've got Douglas, who is our educational content. We have Jay. I'm not sure what he does. We've got Ben, who is one of our consultants. We've got Phil, who's on our EDI team. Jan is one of our coders and also our HR ops. We got rid of the HR. It's just ops. No, we still have HR. Sorry, I didn't mean we got rid of HR. No, Jan is our team ops manager. We got Doug Brasso, who is our new client implementation specialist. We've got Michael, who's a designer. Jeremy is one of our support specialists. We've got new client too, right? Yeah, new client implementation, sorry. We've got Mary, who's on our EDI team. We've got BK, who is also one of our certified coders and consultants. And then we've got Justin, who is our team visionary / EDI expert. So I think without any further ado, I'm Owen. I'm on the quality assurance team. If something breaks, you can blame me. Don't actually do that, though. It's probably not my fault. We are going to... Nope. Now we are. Hey! Our vision is to get every pediatrician paid the maximal amount for the minimal administrative effort. We want to make sure that you guys and your docs get paid for the incredible work you do. Hopefully without having to fight tooth and nail for it. the premise, like I said earlier, this is for you guys. It's primarily for your questions. It's super discussion oriented. If usually we ask you to change your Zoom name to let us know what your state you're from, but if you can remember to say that when you're asking questions, great, because there may be somebody from your state that's experiencing the same exact issue with their payer. Like I said, here's the list of our full team, and we have most of them here today. We almost have enough table for everyone, not quite. Here's our full agenda. Like I said, your questions and then new features that we want to demo and get some feedback from you guys. As you guys know, we are super big on getting your feedback on what we're doing because we want to make sure we do it right. So please join us again. No, I'm going to go back. We're going to start with your questions really quickly before anybody jumps the gun in the room. We did have one question on the chat. And it was in regards to... Oh, yeah. But I just wanted to scroll back. If we put a claim hold for a clinician who is not yet credentialed, and there are more times than not, it takes many months to get them fully credentialed, will this be denied for timely filing? The answer is yes. There's not...
I was able to answer this in chat when it came through, but for the benefit of all, yeah, absolutely. If the claim hold is on for the purpose of a new clinician joining your practice and they are not yet credentialed, that timing is tricky. So having credentialing efforts begin as soon as humanly possible is our strong recommendation, because you will absolutely be denied for completely legitimate services if they happen prior to the date that the payer ultimately ends up creating, assigning as the effective date for that clinician's contract. So yes, that is a buyer beware kind of thing, or a strong recommendation to start credentialing very, very early.
Sweet. Thank you, Jan.
Next question from the
Yeah.
chat. We have, do we need to add billing notes to the chart? I only see account notes in my charts.
Ooh. Takers? Jeremy?
You would add that through the protocol builder in the EHR. So you can add it to like the insurance eligibility screen or the patient check-in, or I think the appointment book patient details. It's only specifically for encounters. Yeah. So you do that through the protocol configuration tool.
Yeah, we got you. All right. Wait, I saw a hand up over here first, Linda. I'm so sorry, Linda.
Is there a way, I'm excited about these changes, by the way. Jean from New Jersey, Watch on Peds. I can't say frequently, but we have it where we will get a particular payer. We'll go back and do a claims audit and determine that they overpaid, say, 100 claims by 51 cents. The question is, do you have any way or any suggestion on how we can do this without going into each individual? Right now it's a manual process. You got to go into each chart. You got to take that AR take back, pop it up. Is there a way to do this en masse, or is there anything in the pipeline so that we can do this en masse so it's not as time consuming? It's make those 51-cent adjustments, because those 51-cent adjustments eventually they take the money back, but they're going to apply it to a future claim. So you have to have that 51 cents somewhere so you can cross-apply it. So.
Yeah, of course. Here, Doug?
Yeah, Michael and I were wondering, is that coming through an ERA, or is that like a letter they're sending you and saying, hey, we're taking this back, send us money? Okay, so then they... Yeah. Okay.
Because by law, they have to wait the 35 or 45 days to review
So they're not reversing all the payments from the encounter. Just okay. I gotcha.
I think we're gonna have Michael. I'm gonna have you take the lav mic off and use it for this entire side of the panel. Pass it around. I will give you guys this mic.
No.
We just don't have enough mics. All right, who was it again? Sweet. Oh, hey.
Hi, I'm Rima from Lakeside, right here, local. And what I do is I create a slush account, and so when they're warning me that they're going to take the money back, I put that money in the slush account so that way I can balance out my day and everything. And then when they do, I go in and I remove that money.
So you don't post it individually against every person?
No, unless it's specific to a person, and then I'll put a note in that it's specific to this claim number and this person, so that way I know.
People that 51 cents is stolen as line items.
I haven't had that many.
Like, does it really matter in the long run? Yes, it does, because of, when you're running your reports, but on the same token, it's very time.
Yes.
Okay, I'm interrupting now.
Yeah, Ben.
Because they told me to. Yeah, so Gene, you're saying eventually these do come on actual EOBs though, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so if they come on EOBs and you're auto posting through the EHR, it'll just do it for you. But what you need to do at that point is then you have to go back into those accounts and write the money, like decide what you're doing. Are you gonna like adjust it off at that point? Because it'll be a balance, right? So you'd have a bunch of 51-cent balances out to patients unless you go and adjust them off afterwards. But in terms of the actual adjustments that they're making when they take the money back, the EOB is gonna handle that because it's gonna go in, find the original payment, and it's going to reverse that payment and repay it at 51 cents less. And the system can already do that for you. Like that's how our developer Noah designed it, is if you get something and there's a change, it will go through and it'll reverse what had happened, 3 years ago, and you'll have a new check number with today's date, and you'll have the new payment amount, and then you'll have the actual discrepancy amount. So all of that stuff is just going to be handled for you automatically. At that point, you just have to figure out what to do with those accounts that are low. And at that point, you can, like Doug was talking about in our talk earlier, unfortunately, it's hard to have ERAs because it's all real data, so we can't really fake it up on the screen. But there's the special case filters where you can be like, show me everything where a balance went over to where any type of balance went over to personal responsibility. So you can have that filtered list open, and then you can go into those accounts and make those adjustments. It's still going to be a pain because you're still going into 100 accounts to write off 51 cents over and over again, but at least you're not going in, finding a line item, deleting an adjustment, putting a new adjustment in a different amount, then having to write off the other part of it. At least it's taking those first steps for you, because it's taking everything back, repaying it at 51 cents less per kid, and then you're just making the adjustment at the end.
Yeah, that's the time-consuming part. Thank you.
Yeah, it's still going to be time-consuming, but the fact that you don't know who the patient list is until they give it to you, there's no way to automate a patient list, right?
I think it's been
Oh, great.
Then that's been answered already. Sweet. We're gonna go to the online really quick, Linda, and then I'll come back to you. Linda's next in line, everybody. Just so you guys know. I'm just making a public note.
Yeah, we did have a question which has been answered a little bit in the chat, just asking about if billers, if you have more than 4 diagnoses used on a visit, do you submit them? We did talk about the ability to do so. If we can send up to 12. 4 per line item is the maximum, 12 per claim. But the question as well is just as billers, do you submit more than 4? Do you push those out? And we have some head shakes, yes, here, and I'm seeing more, just a lot of head shaking yes, so I'll give that a good answer. The next one we have is Sarah from BCA Medical in New Mexico. Has anyone else billed out the Spotfire 1225 target and having issues getting this paid as a higher dollar procedure?
Jenna from Village Pediatrics. We've been using the 15-panel Spotfire for close to a year, and Medicaid is one of the only payers that pays it. We actually had to break it down into 4 CPT codes for other payers that make up the 12 to 25 targets, and what we ended up having to do was patients had to sign a procedure waiver understanding that their insurance may not cover it, and they would be responsible for X amount of dollars for the procedure if they don't cover it. It was tumultuous, and we are doing very well. Now it's not respiratory season, but when we were doing it, it was a big issue, and now we really only use it for Medicaid. So.
Thank you, and sorry to hear that. All right, Linda, your turn. I'm just. Yeah.
So United Healthcare on electronic claims will stop a claim going through if the 97802 CPT code is on that claim. It completely rejects the whole claim. So I have to drop the claim or I have to delete the code, which I don't want to delete the code because I want to report our work. But in order to get it to go, I have found that I have to send in a paper claim. Or has that been corrected? Does anybody else have that same issue?
Just for clarity, when you say UHC is rejecting it from coming into the system, are they rejecting it as one of their automated smart edits? Like, smart edit, we can't take this code. Is that how
I
they're
believe so,
saying
yeah.
it to you? Okay.
It's on my claims reports when they come in.
Yeah.
That's what keeps those claims from going.
Yeah, usually when UHC reports, they'll start their rejection with smart edit and then have an explanation after that. We talk about this pretty much every billing drop-in. UHC smart edits are like automated edits where they're like, oh, we're doing this to help you out by rejecting all your stuff in an automated fashion rather than real human beings actually looking at it. And it's just going to get, it's obviously just going to get worse from here now that everything is AI this and AI that. They're going to be like, oh, let's just have the AI added into this. I'm getting off subject, but I don't know the answer for this particular one. I just wanted clarity of if it was a smart edit or not.
So EDI has a question. So I have to manually do the claim then, right?
It depends, but we'll see.
This is Zane from PEDS One, work with Michigan and Alabama clients. If it's, depending on the smart edit, if it's not like there's a COB issue or an eligibility issue, just resubmit it a second time, it'll go through.
Yeah, I was going to mention there is a little PDF online with UHC that will tell you what those cryptic codes in the response are. Like you'll see them. One of them says UBICCL. So those are the smart edits, and you can look online. And there's 2 types of them. There's a return edit, and then there's a rejection edit. Right. So the return edits are automatically reprocessed, or you can resubmit it to make it faster because it takes 5 days or whatnot. But if it's a rejection edit, you need to actually change something. So that's the problem with those return edits. They come back and people feel like they need to do something, but in fact they don't. They're just kind of saying, hey, this might be a problem with adjudication, but you could potentially just... Yeah. Well, I've seen some of those edits come back and say rejection, and they're actually just return edits. So I think the messaging is confusing in there.
One second. I'm coming.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
My
you
name
see
is
everybody up
Chloe.
here saying smart edits.
Right.
We can't say it because it just go ahead. You're going to say this better than I.
No, well, I don't know, but my name's Chloe. I'm from Concord, New Hampshire. Concord Pediatrics, and I have found that when it's rejected and I go on to the United Healthcare portal, they don't have that claim. So I understand what you mean on that one. I haven't seen the return one as much. I have seen the rejected, and from my experience with United, it doesn't make it after that point.
Great. Brian? We're all good online? All right, you guys, free reign. Question. Here we go.
Hi, Tiana from BCD Health in New Jersey. I just have a question in regards to dark side versus EHR auto posting. So, as some of you may know, our team is really into the dark side. So they're hesitant to, move over. But I do want to implement some of the things, like as soon as I go back, one being auto posting. Can I start slow? So can I choose Horizon and have one person work on that in EHR, and then the rest of the team work on the dark side? And will my reconciliation at the end of the day work out?
Yes.
Okay.
Unlike something like, say, the appointment book, where we had the scheduler and the appointment book and they were completely different, a lot of the things we've had to do for billing have had to be compatible one way to the other. The one thing that Doug mentioned during his presentation was like the claims tool, because there's a log that doesn't, like, one log has more information than the other, then you shouldn't switch back and forth. That's why he highlighted that specifically and not everything else, is because pretty much everything else, we've had to go through our development steps and be like, we need to make this so it still works with what already exists. So if you do something like go into the ERA tool in the EHR, right? And you look at posted ERAs, and then you go into practice management, and you go into insurance billing, and you go down to where it says like ERA reports, and you run ERA reports. Then you have like the F1, F2, F3 to see like full report, manual report, auto report. That information is going to be the same from either place. The advantage in the EHR is obviously, like, especially for a BCD, if you look for a check number from 3 years ago, when you do it in the EHR, it's going to take you, 10 seconds. You do it in practice management, it's going to take you about an hour and 15 minutes while it's sitting there going looking for a check number. But the actual data is going to be the same. You would just, obviously, if you're working with just Horizon, at the top of the ERA unprocessed list, there's a search filter. So if it comes in with the name Horizon, or if it comes in with an abbreviation, or even if it's always going to start with these like 6 numbers for a check number, you can type that into the search. It'll take your filter down to just those. So if you're working with Horizon, put in Horizon, be like post, 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 post. Again, it's going to be a slightly different workflow, because rather than reviewing things, auto posting, getting a giant manual list, reviewing things again while you're manually keying in all your data, it's, I post this whole check, and now that it's posted, it comes up on my screen, and I have a bunch of filters to say, now that everything's posted, what did I get a $0 payment for? What was adjusted off at 100%? What dropped 100% to personal balance? Which of these have a secondary where I might want to review it before I send claims out for the day to make sure, like, what's going to go to the secondary is correct, or even that I want it to go to that secondary, like that type of information.
Michael, did you want to say something, or?
Well, I think Ben mostly said it, but when you're auto posting in the EHR, it's actually logging more information. And so you're going to get a lot more detail. So when you look at the summary of the ERA report from the EHR, you're going to see how many, just from the very top even, you're going to see how many claims or charges were underpaid for the allowables, if you have allowables set, or how many were fully adjusted, or how many fully went to personal. So all these different special cases, and you're going to see a summary of all the different posting exceptions. And so and you're not going to see all that, or if copay changes, like the EHR does the copay changes for you, while partner does not. And so there are different things that are actually happening as well as being logged.
Sweet. And I will say, I mean, we talk a lot about the dark side, quote unquote. Jay sitting there made a good chunk of it, and he wants to rip it all out now. He wants everybody in the EHR, and he made it. So, just for reference.
He can never leave until it's gone.
No, but we just,
and we
you know,
want him to be able
we just
to
had our
enjoy
last
his life.
folks turn the appointment book on, and Jay was like, "Does that mean I can rip Sam out entirely?" And we were like, "Honestly, how about it, Jay?" All right, next question. No questions? Oh, Justin, sorry, hold on. Okay, please.
I want to go back. I'm sorry. I'm Kathy from the Bronx. And I want to go back even further into the coding. We get audited every year from our big insurances, so we have to send in charts. And we also get letters, and their latest flavor of the month is the modifier 25. And I wrote a scenario because I'm not sure I am coding correctly. And I know that, like, if somebody comes in sick during their full physical, the modifier 25 is going to go on the 99213 or whatever. But I have a whole host, and I have always put the modifier 25 even on the straight physicals. And we actually met with the medical director of one of the insurance companies in New York City, who said, "Oh no, when you do hearing testing and vision testing, that's part of the annual and it should not be coded separately." And really, I mean, they're looking to claw back everything. And I just wanted to go through a whole scenario and see what are other practices coding. All right, does that make sense? And if I can, I wrote this, Jan. Can I just give this to you and maybe you can figure out how to present it so it makes sense, what I'm saying?
I absolutely, I think I do understand what you're saying, and I appreciate the work you put into the scenario. What I think it's going to come down to, I don't want to cause you trouble or overlook the work you put into this, and we've started all of our talks now, Brian and I, with the difference between billing answers and coding answers.
Okay.
The coding answer is going to be when you code for a well visit, you have a 5-digit code that is specific to that patient at their age.
Right.
When you have concurrent sick care, you have either an MDM or a time-based sick visit attached to that with a 25 modifier. And you can bill, and there is language in the AMA CPT manual. You can bill for all of the age-appropriate and developmentally appropriate screenings at each of those ages. There is language in there to use in an appeal. The billing answer is the payer's going to make you jump through whatever hoops they think they're going to get away with making you jump through. So if there is a provider manual that gives you any kind of guidance, and good luck finding it online, they'll move it or pretend it never existed. I'm sorry, opinion.
No, actually, as part of it, we showed them. They gave us laminated cards because they wanted QA markers hit.
The modifiers, yeah. Oh, the QA markers, yeah.
So when they said, "Oh no, why are you doing the weight and activity G0447 and you're charging?" That's part of it. It's like, no, we started spending 15 minutes talking about this because you said it, and here's your card where you said it.
Yeah. Yeah, so in addition to coding and billing, there's then the clinical reporting that they've sort of tacked and pasted on to this one style of reporting. So they have one code set trying to serve many masters that are, like I say, the coding and the billing. So the coding answer is you're doing it right. If you have chosen a CPT code that matches what you're conducting in the exam room, you're doing it perfectly. Their response and their requirements are where I think the difference is, and the fact that they're moving the goalposts. They keep, I'm going to mix metaphors all day. They're going to put the bullseye over there, and then they're going to move it over there. Keeping up with them is the work of the billers, and that's why billing takes so darn much time in a high-volume specialty like pediatrics, because they're just going to keep moving the goalposts. It's how they hang on to money. If you ever wonder why, soapbox, if you ever wonder why the UHC CEOs make as much as they do, it's because when they tell you for 700 claims in 2 weeks that $50 isn't what's gonna is not gonna be paid, even though you did it, or they're just gonna hang on to the full up to $600 for a well visit, concurrent well care. If you're pricing well and if you're conducting complete well visits, they'll hang on to the full visit amount and hope you never notice that they denied it for some ridiculous reason. And just like before, they're going to reject it and pretend that they never even saw the claim, although they assign a control number, and I don't know how they can do that when they have never seen the claim. Another point, they'll say they never saw it in the hopes that you never follow up. So you're doing it right. I can honestly say, without even looking, if you are matching your CPTs to the services you're rendering, you are doing it right. And nothing I'm going to say. Your peers here may have cracked that nut, and they may have strategies for keeping up with the changes the payers make, and it's just not a coding answer. I will happily code that scenario for you and share it out another time, but you're doing it right.
All right, thank you.
Ooh. So, yeah. It's always those answers that are like so bittersweet. Yeah, for sure. Hold on one second. I know. Just imagine, right? Imagine if you're sitting at home on your computer, you can't hear what anybody's saying. That's why I'm doing this.
I know, I appreciate you. Thank you. I'm Chloe. I'm from Concord, New Hampshire. I was wondering if anyone has been reimbursed for the G2211 code, or we were told that if a patient refuses to vaccinate, that we can still bill the 99401 along with a vaccination not given out due to caregiver decision. So far, those two codes for me, I've not been paid from any insurance company, and I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if anyone else has been paid.
Jenna at Village Pediatrics, we tried the G2211 since last summer's conference, and not a single payer paid it. Even our Medicaid, not a single one.
Jean's had some success.
So we've gotten paid over 50K in that particular code. So it New Jersey. So it's Blue Cross Blue Shield pays it. I do get it for United. So we have gotten it. Blue Cross Blue Shield is probably the PHCS multi-plan has the best fee schedule for it. But Blue Cross Blue Shield does pay it.
So far, I have not had any luck. I'm going to keep trying it, though.
It looks like there's a no. It looks like there's a let's chat at lunch in process right now. Yeah. Oh, Jan's coming back.
Actually, it's a good question because it's what is she pairing?
So I was just to add to that as well. You said you're gonna keep billing it. That's a good reminder to everyone. Bill for all of your services, even if you get zero reimbursement for them. Mm-hmm. Worst case scenario, it just adjusts off at 100% on your EOB. But you're never going to be able to get into a conversation with these insurance payers if you can't prove that you've been doing these services. If you just stop doing it now because you did it for a year and you never got paid, when you renegotiate a contract in 3 years and you say, I want to start getting paid for these G codes, they're going to say, oh, in the last year of data, we don't even see that you've done any of them. So if you're not documenting that you're doing them, you're never going to be able to fight for the money that you're not getting.
Yes, I was hoping to jump back to a question that got asked. A real quick answer before we do a demo. Try to do a demo here. Question you had asked Linda about the 97802 on those UHC smart edits. Yeah, I was looking on your system, and it looks like you might have mentioned this. So the message they're saying is procedure code 97802 is intended for use by non-physician healthcare professionals only. Please update code as applicable. It looks like, however right or wrong this is, I see UHC has a non-physician healthcare codes policy professional. It came up in Google and I searched for that error, and it's dated 2025, and they do say, big long explanation, but they say, therefore, in accordance with correct coding guidelines, United Healthcare will not reimburse non-physician healthcare professional service codes listed in the code section below when reported by a physician, because these codes are intended for use by non-physician healthcare professionals, blah, 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 blah. And then they list 97802 in that list, however right or wrong it is. But yeah, it looks like they think they know what they're doing there. So yeah, sorry. I just, yeah.
I am going to hand over the room to Michael for a few minutes. I will say, and I'll say this again at the end, this time does not end here, right? While you guys are here at the conference, any one of us or any one of the other people you see in this room, go chat with them. We'll be happy to either answer you or find somebody that can answer you, right? So Michael's going to show off some of the stuff that we have in the cannon for you guys, ready to launch hopefully in October for the most part. It is not too late to give us your thoughts and feedback is what we're trying to say here. So Michael?
Thank you. So I'm Michael, the designer, also from the Bronx. Have to stand up. So I'm going to show you some. Usually I show pictures, but there are things that are in development that are actually kind of functioning, and so I'm hopefully going to show you some live demo of some working software or partially working software. Not fully tested. It's not fully polished, but it should be enough to show. But I just wanted to start quickly going back to the claims tool, because this is going to be at following up on insurance balances. And the claims tool, as Doug mentioned, you submit claims, and then they go into this work list for, so what happens is before we send them out, it finds ones that have problems, and they keep them back until you fix the problem, and they automatically go out. But there are ones that actually do go out, and then the first problem that they encounter is that you have claim rejections. So the clearinghouse receives the claim, and then they send it right back because it's something wrong with that claim. Maybe the insurance can't be identified, or the policy can't be identified. It can't make its way to the payer, or sometimes with a direct payer, the payer might send it back. So the very first urgent thing you have to deal with is those claim rejections. And so we're going to have a new tool called Insurance Balances. And this is a baby tool. It's going to grow up and become more mature. But right now we're starting off with claim rejections. And in the claim rejections tab, you're going to see a list of insurance groups that have claim rejections. So this is the kind of thing you would check every day and just say, hey, what claim rejections do I have? And it's going to tell you how many for every insurance group and how much money those claims are worth. And then you can, and for a small practice, you can select one at a time, or you can divide it up in a big practice where everyone takes whatever insurance groups they need to, or you can just say work with all, and it will scoop them all up if you want to. And then it gives you a work list of those claim rejections. And so when I say work list, it's basically a report, but we can work them from the report. And you're going to see some filters down here. Actually, let's look at the columns here. So we can see that we're working with all. You see the rejection date, that's the date, the actual rejection, the insurance plan, the patient, the date of service, the number of days since the date of service. So that'll help you for timely filing purposes to say, oh, how old is this thing? Without having to do some math in your head. You can go, oh, that's, well, this is play data, so don't get alarmed here when you see 761 days. The amount, you'll see the claim ID, the source, whether it came from a clearinghouse or payer, the reason, and you're seeing some garbage in here because this is all play data, but the reason itself is not standardized right now. I think it will be when we have something called real-time, what's it called, Justin? Real-time claim status. We'll have a new thing, but that's not here yet. And so what they do is you get all these non-standard reports, and they come in a paragraph, and what we do is we take the lines from that paragraph and we join them up and show them as like one big sentence, but then we can't show it all in that one spot there, but we do save that whole thing. And then we have a status here. Let me go to changes to say unresolved. So we're going to look at the unresolved ones. So this is a new concept here. So these rejections have a status of unresolved. And when you have, say, you fixed it, which is usually fixing something and then submitting a new claim, then you can mark it as resolved, and that will pull it off your list. So it's going to be a manually driven list where you actually have to say, I've worked on this, it's marked as resolved. You can also assign it to yourself or someone else if you want to. So if you say, oh, I can't fix this now, but I've looked at it, I'm going to own this one, and you can stick your name on it, and it will show you in the list here who resolved what. And down here we have some filters. We have the status, so if I can say, when you mark things, when it shows only the unresolved ones, when you mark as resolved, it'll go off the list. But if you ever want to go back and see all of the resolved ones, you can simply say, show me all the ones that are fully resolved, or show me all statuses. And if you want to, I'll just go to unresolved. And you can also just see something that maybe, hey, everything I want to see that was assigned to me, you can just look at that. But it starts off with all users, unresolved. Okay, so we have something on our work list and we want to work on it. We can select it and say view details, or you can double click on it.
Hey, Michael, can I interject for a minute? Just, I think, use the mic. Yeah, fantastic. Hello? Is this working? Okay. Yeah, just to interject for a second.
Please.
For people that are using
Ben, talk right into it.
Talk
right into it.
For the people that, there we go. For the people right now that are using the claim rejection report in practice management, that this will remove. Everything there is charge-based, right? So every single line, it's like, I did this, and then I sent a new claim out, and then it got rejected again, and I sent a new claim out, and it got rejected again. All of the things that Michael's showing, these are claim-based, so it's by the claim number. So instead of seeing like 6 different lines for one kid, you'll see a claim, and you'll know if you resolved that one claim or not. And if a new one rejects, it will have a new claim number. It'll come back onto your list. When you look at resolved for like search for a patient or something like that, you can see, oh, I sent claim 1, 2, 4, 7, and 12, and you'll see them all in there as a individual claim instead of a bunch of charge items together.
Yep. So you're looking at different claims, or you can think of them also as claim rejections. Each rejection is its own thing. And so if you resubmit it and it comes back again with it, that's a new rejection. I don't know if this microphone that's roving.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say we only have 1 or 2 minutes left in the entire class.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're basically at time. So I'm just going to...
Okay, well, I guess I'll have to speed up really fast.
Quick question. So Stephen Hirsch from Rockville, Maryland. So this is going to be a great feature. So these are the claims that you will not see on an ERA, right? They're rejected before they come.
These were never adjudicated.
Right. Even though some of them come back from the payer won't report these on an ERA saying we're not going to deal with this.
Yeah, these have never been adjudicated, so they've never actually got to the point where they've been looked at.
Right. That's fantastic.
Sweet.
Okay, so okay, so this is really fast. Okay, so I'm going to go into view details here. You can look at the thing. So we're going to show you some details about the rejection and some information about the encounter. We're going to show you the rejection reason, that thing that's like a combined line. And then we're going to show you the actual report, the rejection report. And we're going to put in a little finder here. There's a little search filter. And it says find, and we're going to populate it with the claim ID. It's going to bring you right to that spot. And you can assign it to yourself here. I'll just put a name in there, computer agent. And then I'm going to say I'm going to mark it resolved, but I didn't actually do anything yet. But anyway, so the quick way to resolve something is if you were to go into edit charges. From edit charges, you can actually make changes in anything. You can go to patient details, update demographics, update policies. You can go in here, and then in here, this is bogus data, but it's going to say queue a claim. You can re-queue the claim by hitting the little checkbox, and then you can save it. And so you can make all your changes you need, and then come back to the tool, and then mark it as resolved. I don't know why Kanji's asking me to make an update.
And I will say, just because we are at time,